Come on. Hi there. Welcome everyone to the Graduating Residents webinar. This is our very first one here at ABEM. My name is Dr. Marianne Gaushi-Hill, and I'm so excited that all of you are here to learn about the process of certification. And I'm hopeful that we can address all of your questions. Again, my name is Dr. Marianne Gaushi-Hill. I'm the president of the American Board of Emergency Medicine. And my day job is as the medical director for the Los Angeles County EMS agency. And I'm also professor of emergency medicine and pediatrics at David Geffen School of Medicine and Harvard. So I'd like to let Dr. Beeson and Dr. Ankel go ahead and introduce themselves. So Dr. Beeson.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mike Beeson. I am a director on the American Board of Emergency Medicine. I'm a chairman for the Academic Affairs Committee, and my day job is as a residency director for emergency medicine in Akron, Ohio. Felix?
Yeah, hi, I'm Felix Ankel. I'm on the board of directors and I work in St. Paul, Minnesota. Just did a shift today at Regions Hospital. I wanted to welcome you all. I think the intent here is to have it be very interactive. So our chat is going to be open. I would ask you to introduce yourself and what program you are from and why you went into emergency medicine. I trained at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and I think 30 years ago, I went into emergency medicine because I really wanted to take care of people that others were either unwilling or unable to, and that even today during this shift held true. So give us your questions, and would love to hear from Dr. Gaushi-Hill or Dr. Beeson why they went into emergency medicine.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. I went into emergency medicine because the medical care that my family got as I was growing up, and I had 5 siblings, we did not have insurance, and the only care that we got came from the emergency room at that time. And when it came time for me to choose a specialty, I just felt it would have been hypocritical to choose any other specialty. So here I am.
Wow, that's a great story, Mike. I'd love to, I know we're going to see a lot of stories in the chat, and that's exciting as well. And I did my residency at Harvard UCLA Medical Center in Torrance, California. I started out in general surgery. I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, but I spent the first year as an intern in the emergency department, and I fell in love with it. So I got to see all of these undifferentiated patients. I got to problem solve. I got to be a Sherlock Holmes, and that was really exciting. So after my internship, I transitioned to emergency medicine and then did peds emergency medicine. So pretty fun, pretty fun journey. Anyway, I was going to go ahead and transition to talking a little bit about the American Board of Emergency Medicine and what we do. As you may or may not be aware, there are 17 members on the board of directors. We're from all over the United States. We also have a public member, which has been really a great insight into how our patients feel about us. And I think that's really added a lot to the board. The 17 members are clinically active, and they're really practicing, as you heard, all over the United States. I'm in the West, there's Mike's in the central part of the US, and then Felix is in Minnesota. So hope I did that well. Our mission is to ensure the highest standards in emergency medicine. We are a certifying organization. We're one of 24 boards for the American Board of Medical Specialties. And some of the things that we do is to not only provide a certification process, an initial certification process, we also supply, or we also create and implement a continuing certification process. So when you enter the certification world, you will have a really long-term relationship with the board. And as you'll see when you meet our staff as well, we want to be there for you so that this process is as easy as possible. And the other thing that we do is we support the value of certification in many ways. One, we interact with numerous other emergency medicine organizations and stakeholders, and we also do research on the value of certification for patients, as well as for yourselves when you become a diplomate of the American Board of Emergency Medicine. All right. The QR code goes right to the value of certification page so that you will be able to learn more about these activities with the board. All right, let's go to the next slide. So future is bright. You are going to be, once you graduate, and that's coming up really soon. So congratulations on that and getting to the end of your residency. It's kind of a surreal moment. I think we can all talk about that later. And you will really be part of the gold standard that is leading the emergency medicine team to care for patients. Next slide. All right, we are now we're going to really go through the path and the road to your certification. So we'll have an introduction about how you go from graduation through the ABEM certification process. All right, Felix.
Yeah, really, there's 3 parts to becoming board certified. One, you need to apply for certification. We'll tell you how to do that. Next one is to pass the qualifying exam, and that is really the written boards. And once you pass the qualifying exam, you really need to pass the certification exam, which we know as the oral boards. Next slide. If you're graduating before October, you can, and my recommendation is should apply now through our portal, and we'll show you how to do that. There's a period of time after you graduate from residency that you can be board eligible, but that's not unlimited. That's 5 years. As a matter of fact, I would recommend you take your boards as soon as you can, and that is, the application process. Make sure you have a license to do that, and we'll walk you through that. Next slide for Dr. Beeson.
All right, thank you, Felix. Yes, there are several steps to becoming certified, and I'm going to speak to the 2 testing steps. The first one is the qualifying exam, and the qualifying exam is offered over the course of 1 week in the fall. You will schedule a time with Pearson VUE testing centers. There's many of them throughout the country. The test itself consists of 305 multiple choice questions. The exam is based on a criterion reference standard, which means that the standards for passage is predetermined. Your passage is not dependent on how others score compared to you. ABEM is committed to ensuring that you have your scores within 90 days. And again, register between May 2nd and October 1st. Once you pass the qualifying exam, next comes the oral certification exam. And in 2022, as well as 2023, we plan on offering 3 different exams during those years. This will ensure that everyone who is eligible to take the oral exam will be able to have a seat for an oral exam. It consists of a 4 to 5 hour virtual Zoom session. And as you can imagine, when the pandemic hit, that really sent ABEM scrambling to develop the software and the platform using Zoom so that we could offer uninterrupted oral exams. And we are up to date with everyone now. Starting in 2023, there will be 5 single patient cases, which I think probably all of you are familiar with. And then there will be 2 structured interview cases. And these cases are a little bit different in that they do not involve role playing. Instead, you will be presented a scenario, and then you will be asked your rationale for diagnostic studies and treatment strategies. And so be prepared, review the website, check your email, read the exam packet that you'll have, and for the oral exam, make sure that your system works and is compatible with the system that ABEM uses.
All right, thanks, Mike, and thanks, Felix, for going through that. This is the certification fees. You can see there's an application fee, the fee for the qualifying exam and oral exam. And then after the initial certification, there is an annual fee for continuing certification. Many people ask what the costs are for. Costs cover all of the administration and exam development. There's a significant number of resources that go into the exam development, and I think that's really important to understand. In addition, you should be aware that ABEM is a nonprofit organization, and I wanted to say something a little bit about the oral certification exam, because this comes up a number of times. That one is that why are the costs still there if people don't have to travel? Well, a couple things. One, and they're not in person. One, all the travel costs for those who are taking the certification exam. Now, since it's done virtually, those don't have to be incurred by any of the residents who are now graduated and are candidates for certification. In addition, there's significant IT and development costs relative to putting the oral board or implementing the oral board. As I say, it's a Zoom call on steroids, 10 floors, 14 rooms, breakout rooms for over 100 examiners, and then all of the team leaders and chief examiners. So all of the ABEM staff participate in the oral boards and their family members. So it's a big production, believe it or not. So I just wanted to let you know about that. I also wanted to show our fee structure and where we stand. We're the red bars, and you can see that we're really not, if you look at the number of boards and what those fees are, we're in about the middle or lower middle range for most fees, and that's by the height of these bars. So I think it's important just to understand also that the board tries very hard not to increase the initial certification fees, because we certainly understand this is a time in your life of transition from residency to actual practice. Next slide. So now I'd like to turn it over to our wonderful staff. I'm going to turn it over to Angie McGough, who will facilitate the next section of this webinar. And we'll be back, and I'll see you at the end. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gasha-Hill. Welcome, everyone. I'm Angie McGough, Associate Executive Director of Certification Services, and I work with a team of ABEM staff that assists physicians like you through the initial certification application and exam registration process. I have a couple members of the Certification Services team with me today to help explain the initial certification process in more detail and answer any questions that you have. If you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat. If for any reason we don't get to them during the live webinar, We are recording the session so we can reach out to you afterwards and make sure that your questions do get answered. I'm going to let Julie and Sarah introduce themselves, and then they're going to share some information and walk you through the steps for applying for certification and registering for the initial certification examinations. Sarah and Julie.
Well, welcome. We're so glad that you decided to join us and learn more about the initial certification process. My name is Julie Renner, and I'm the Initial Certification and Policies Manager at ABEM. And as Angie described, here to make sure that we are able to help you get through the initial certification process. And I'll let Sarah introduce herself as well.
My name is Sarah Moore. I am the Initial Certification Specialist. So I work with the graduating residents and getting them through the application cycle and through the qualifying exam and finally certified through the oral exam. And I'm just going to go over a few logistics of our website and kind of how you can do those steps. There are a lot of really good resources if you go to our public website there. If you go to the next slide, the most useful section for you right now is going to be the Become Certified section. This is going to go over your board eligibility requirements, how to apply, passing the qualifying exam and passing the oral exam, and the structures of those exams, and just really good information there. If you want to dig deeper and look into your more personal information on ABEM, you'll go to the up in the upper right hand corner, the ABEM portal sign in. This is where you'll be able to update your personal information, contact information, and when you take exams, you'll view your scores. Register for exams and everything here on the portal. When you first graduate, you probably won't have your user ID and password. So if you go to the next slide, you'll want to hit the Need User ID or Forgot Password button, and this will prompt you to go through some steps and contacting ABEM, and we can get you that information and get you logged in. Once you have your login information and you log into the portal, this is going to be what you see. Up at the top, personal information. This is going to be a really important step for you to do once you get into the portal. If you go to the next, your email address that we have is most likely going to be your program residency email. And as you know, you'll lose access to that after you graduate. So then we are no longer able to contact you. So it's really important that you get in there, get logged in, update that to your Gmail account or whatever email address that you use, and that way we can stay in contact during your becoming certified process. So the first step is applying. Like Dr. Enkel said, if you graduate on or before October 31st, you can go ahead and apply now. We do really recommend you do that early to avoid any delays later on. Once you have logged into your portal, you'll see that application button right in the center of your screen. Once you click that, it takes you to your initial certification page. And this is where you're going to get majority of the information when you're trying to apply. That first step there's a question. That question just really gives ABEM an idea of how many people are going to take the qualifying exam this year. And once you answer that, you'll start your actual application. Once you get into the application, it'll ask you a series of questions. Ask you, confirm your training dates, and then you'll pay for the application and you'll submit it. Once you do that, you're going to see at the bottom, there's 2 steps, and those 2 steps are independently verified through ABEM. One, which would be your medical license, if you have one, and the other being your verification of training. We do get that directly from your program director, and that doesn't happen until you've actually graduated. So that step can take a little bit of time from the time you apply until your application has been approved. Once you have submitted your application, you'll get the following email. And this email will give you instructions on how to register for the exam once your application is approved, and also on how to actually find the status of your application if we're still waiting on that medical license verification piece or your training verification from your program director. And then I'm going to pass it over to Julie Renner, and she'll go over the exam part.
Thanks, Sarah. So you'll be able to register for the qualifying exam once your application is fully approved. However, there is going to be a period where if it's getting close to when registration is coming to an end, if your application hasn't been approved yet, we will approve your application contingent on getting that final piece of verification from your program if it looks like everything's in order, because we do want to make sure that you can register for the exam. We will email you and let you know when it is time for you to register for the qualifying exam. You'll log into your portal just as Sarah had shown. And then you'll click on step 2, pass the qualifying exam. And then you'll click on that register for qualifying examination button. It's going to take you through a series of prompts after that, asking you to confirm that the information that you put on your application, like your contact information and things like that, are still correct, and ask you to read through and agree to some other pieces as far as exam security and irregularities, just making sure that you're going to follow all the rules when you take the exam. Once you've completed your registration and paid, you're going to get 2 emails. You'll get one right away after you've submitted your payment and your payment is accepted. And then you'll get another one within 48 hours of when you make that payment. That one's going to give you instructions on how to schedule your examination appointment with Pearson VUE testing centers. I know we've said it before, but it's going to be in your best interest to apply early and to register for the exam early, because some testing centers do fill up well in advance of the exam. Once you have registered, scheduled, you want to go on to the next slide, then your exam results will be available to you within 90 days of the exam. We usually get them out a lot sooner. We really try and get them to you by Christmas time so that you're not waiting over the holidays. And then your next step after you've passed the qualifying exam is going to be registering for the oral exam. So typically it's sometime in February. We'll send an email with your oral exam assignment, the date that you'll be assigned to take the exam. It's a random process, but because sometimes the date doesn't work, there will be a brief switch period where you can request to switch to a different exam administration. We do our best to be able to get everybody in a seat that's going to work for them. After the seats are finalized, you'll get an email from ABEM saying, all right, you're all set. You can accept your exam seat and register. You'll log back into your portal. You will accept your exam seat, and then you'll go through another registration process that, again, is very, very similar to the registration for the qualifying exam, confirming all of your contact information, your medical licensure information, giving us any updates. And then if you want to go to the next slide, you'll see this after you've registered, and we will email you as the exam gets closer to give you reminders about scheduling a tech check to make sure that your computer is going to function the way that it should on the day of the exam, and giving you all of the information that you need in order to be prepped for exam day. Next slide. The one other thing that I will say is that if there is something that makes you say, this seems strange, this is unique, but I'm going to have a problem with it because, whether it's an exam date, your ability to find a test seat, please feel free to reach out to me and to Sarah. And there's nothing that we can't, usually nothing we can't find a solution for, and we're here to help. So please feel free to contact us. And I will give it back to Angie.
Thanks, Julie. If you could, why don't you put your email, the email address that people could contact you and Sarah at, in the chat so that they have that access? That would be great. We do have a couple of questions that came in through the registration. The first one is, how long should I expect it to take for my application to be processed into here that I can schedule for the exam?
I can answer that one. So majority of the graduating residents will graduate on June 30th of this year, and then we will start approving those applications those first 2 weeks in July. So I would look for that probably by the end of that second week in July. You should get that approval email from us and be able to register for the qualifying exam.
The next question is, what happens if I can't find a seat for the written exam anywhere close to me?
We can help with that. You will just let us know, send us an email. We'll put those emails in the chat for you. We will personally work with Pearson VUE on our end and try our best to get a seat that is within reasonable driving distance for you.
There's also a question in the chat that maybe one of you can address. It says, are there any major differences for international applicants, specifically Canada, and must the written exam always be in person?
The qualifying exam must always be administered in person. There are quite a few test sites in Canada that do offer our exam. And just like Sarah had explained, if they're full, if there's a problem getting a seat, let us know and we'll be able to help with that. But the requirements that ABEM has for certification are the same, whether you have completed your training in the United States or completed an EM residency in Canada. So there's no difference there. And the steps to becoming certified are no different.
Okay. Sarah, are there any other questions? I know you get a lot of questions, particularly this time of year from applicants. So is there anything that you say are common questions that you get that maybe we should address while we have kind of the place here?
Yeah, the most common question is probably that verification of training and realizing that we independently get that from your program director. How that process works is we automatically will send them a verification form through the portal the day after you graduate. So you graduate July or June 30th, they will get that verification July 1st. And once they get that back to us is typically when we can start approving those applications. So just kind of that waiting period. I know it's tough, but that's probably the majority of the questions I get is regarding when can you verify that training, and understanding that that does come from your program director, but they don't get it until you've actually graduated.
Thanks, Sarah. There's also just a question in the chat about can I register for both the written and the oral boards as soon as possible so I can get once them done and behind?
Unfortunately, you only can pay and register as they become available. We can't hold on to fees, so they're all separate. And that is another question that I get a lot is you pay for the application, which is $420, and then the exam is a separate fee of $960. So they're two separate fees, and you can only pay for the qualifying exam once your application has been approved and you're ready to register. Same as the oral exam.
Great, thank you. Actually, I don't know if one of the directors could maybe speak a little bit about the oral exam and some of the changes with the structured interview. It happens to be new, and I know that maybe some people on this webinar might be interested in hearing how that changed, what that's about, and what they can expect in that oral exam.
Mike, did you want to take that? I see you're on camera. Go ahead.
I can. The structured interview is a different type of question that's asked during the oral exam. Instead of role playing, you are presented with a scenario, and then you will be asked, okay, given this presentation, what concerns do you initially have? And then you may be asked, why do you have those concerns? And then the next question would be, in consideration of a diagnostic strategy, what would your concerns be? And then you may be asked for the rationale for those. And it goes through it just like that, but it's much different with it. I know that CORD has started the process of training residencies to develop structured interview cases, and that's going to be very helpful as well for you to practice with it. But it's it's a different component. We have validated it over the last year, offering a single structured interview case during the current virtual oral exam. And beginning next year, we will be adding one so that there will be 2 structured interview cases.
Probably what I would add is this is probably the one part of the orals that your program directors may not be as familiar with or are just introducing in the mock oral boards. There's some materials on the website and that you can look at, and there's sort of a mock structured interview exam. So my recommendation is to look at that.
Angie, was there any other questions you felt that we should address before just moving forward?
Yep, I just have one other question, and that is it's something I think maybe Julie could address. What happens if during the scheduled exam time or the period of time in which you're going to be taking the exam, you're due to have a baby?
You should absolutely contact me or Sarah. We know that there are things in life that happen, babies, whether it be you or your spouse, other major medical and life events, military deployments, anything like that that comes up for you or your significant other that's going to impact your ability to take the exam as scheduled. Please contact us. We have contingency plans and we can help you through that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Oh, okay, did you see the question in the chat, Angie? But it says, what happens if you pass the qualifying exam, but not the oral certification? You don't have to take both again. So that's the good news. You would have to take the oral certification exam again, however, so. And no, that was great. I just want to say several things is that we really are here as a board to support you throughout your career. You can tell that, first of all, just emailing us, and there's emails in the chat. Also, there was an example, there's a link to the oral certification types of cases in the chat. So feel free to download that. And you can go to our website. I think that's really important, and just check it out. There's many opportunities for you to get involved with us later in the career. There's volunteer opportunities. And even now you can do things like if you want to provide an opinion or your thoughts on initial certification, you can just Google Becoming Certified Initiative ABEM, and that will get you to a tab where you can, give us some feedback. So the bottom line is that as the organization, we're going to support you throughout your whole career, and we certainly will promote you and your value as a specialist in emergency medicine. One of the things we do is we facilitate and chair the committee of certified emergency physicians, which involves any number of the organizations such as ACEP, AAEM, the American Academy of Emergency Medicine, as well as the Society of Academic Emergency Medicine, academic chairs, and the American Board of Medical Specialties, as well as the resident organizations. So with that, we have been involved in trying to help emergency physicians not have to do merit badges to maintain their credentialing. And we've been successful on many, many fronts, including ATLS not having to do that over and over again and be current in it, as we are resuscitationists as well as traumatologists. So there are any of a number of resources to promote your certification, and so check that out by going to the value section. The key thing is, I think, going and signing up just as what has been outlined for you to go in, get your portal ID, and begin the process of exploring the website. You want to stay current and stay certified throughout your career. And as I mentioned, there's any of a number of volunteer opportunities, including ultimately being an item writer for one of our exams or being an oral examiner. And we're actually just about to start another oral exam here in Chicago. And all of the examinees are going to be virtual. And then finally, we want to hear from you. So feel free to email us. You can call the board. Somebody will actually call you back. And I think that's really important. All right, let's go to the final slide or near final slide. If you have any questions, you can see application@abem.org plus the number there for you, and hit option 1. And then a couple of other things. Feel free to put in the chat anything that you have heard. Also, feel free to email us and give us some feedback. What is important to you about being certified? I think there was one other question in the chat. Oh, yes. Oh, Angie, do you want to take that, or Mike?
No,
Yeah.
you can absolutely answer it. I just wanted to let you know there is a question there.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, and the answer is yes. We do accept the Royal College certification. Angie, do you want to?
I think the question they're asking is, to work in the United States, do you need to be board certified by the American Board of Emergency Medicine to actually work in the United States, or do most hospitals consider the Canadian Royal College certification to be equivalent?
You know, that's a great question. And I would say that many actually do want you to be board certified by ABEM. I don't have a lot of experience from a credentialing standpoint. So if either Mike or Felix want to respond to that. From a credentialing standpoint, that's going to be up to each individual hospital.
Yeah, and that's the nuance is board certification is a national board. Credentialing at an individual hospital is a local decision. And it probably depends on the hospital.
Yeah, that's my feeling on that. Thanks, Angie, for clarifying that. All right, any other questions on that? Okay. I guess we'll go ahead and end, and thank you all for joining us. It's really exciting. You are our future, and that future is bright. And good luck on your journey. And your whole career is a journey, so enjoy every aspect of it. And I'm going to just let Mike and Felix, if they have anything else they want to add.
You know, Mary Ann, I would just echo exactly what you said. Congratulations. This is such a huge step for everyone graduating from an emergency medicine residency. Just remembering all the steps that they went through just to get into medical school and then residency, and now to the board certification process. So congratulations to everyone, and best of luck to you. And
Felix,
go ahead. And thank you. Thank you for what you do, and especially in the last few years, what you have done. It's an incredible specialty, and I really appreciate everything you've put into it so far.
So from the board to us, thanks for participating.